Welcome back to talknorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. talknorth.com is powered by Bite Squad. Go to bitesquad.com or download their app. Get food to your door in minutes. Use the promo code TALKNORTH to get your first delivery free. Talk North gets you your first delivery free. Back to Preps Today with John Millea. I'm Jim Souhan here with the star of the show, John Millea, prep guru and writer for mshsl.org. He drives his Toyota all over the state of Minnesota looking for cool stories. He brings them back, writes them at John's Journal at the mshsl.org website, and tells them to us on this podcast, which is part of the talknorth.com podcast network. We've grown to about 140,000 listens a month, which I never really imagined. Thank you for all the support. And thank you to Gourmet Parlor Pizza, gourmetparlorpizza.com out of Royalton, Minnesota, which both produces great pizza and helps you do great fundraisers. And Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Use the promo code TALKNORTH, all caps, one word, TALKNORTH, to get your first delivery free. That would be help. And supporting our sponsors allows us to survive and thrive and keep doing fun shows like this. Obvious place to start today, John Gagliardi. I didn't know him well, but I visited with him on occasion. Found him to be exactly the wonderful character I'd always heard about. What was your experience with John?
Same thing, Jim. I covered a lot of games up there and did a profile of John. In 1998, yesterday I tweeted a picture of just this little thank you note he sent me. You know, how many reporters came through Collegeville to write about John? I assume he sent everybody. If he sent one to me, he sent one to everybody.
Sent me one too.
And just the nicest guy, just a unique guy. And there's been tons of reaction to his death now on Saturday when he passed away at 91. And the thing that has really struck me is in this era of safety-conscious football, he was doing this 60 years ago. No hitting in practice. They wore helmets and shoulder pads and shorts or sweatpants. They didn't tackle. They didn't use dummies. They didn't use whistles. I went to some practices up there, and it was a riot. You know, they call it the nice day drill, where instead of doing jumping jacks, everybody lays on the grass and looks up at the sky and talks about what a nice day it is. And stories of John canceling practice because of gnats and watching practice from inside his air-conditioned car because it was hot. This is the head coach, one of the winningest coach ever. But I always enjoyed hanging out with him because he always had a smile on his face. You know, at least outwardly, he didn't take things too seriously. But you hear the stories of countless hours of watching film and strategizing.
And he got on the refs. He let it out.
Showing the
refs.
Showing the highlight reel at the family Christmas gathering of all the bad calls against the Johnnies. So I'm sure it'll be kind of special up there on Saturday when St. Thomas comes to St. John's to play football. And no finer man I ever knew than John Gagliardi. And what a legacy up there. And just great things. And everybody, I know a lot of people who played for him, and they love the guy. And just remarkable. And when I wrote this profile in 98 that resulted in the little thank you card, I tweeted the lead to the story, which was John and we sat in his office for a couple hours, then it was lunchtime. So we walked down to the dining hall and we had lunch. And then he kind of took me over. He was taking me to get yogurt. We're going to the frozen yogurt machine. But he points out on the wall some of the original bricks from whatever was constructed 130 years earlier. And then my little goofball line was Gagliardi was not on that work detail. And he did tell me later he thought that was pretty funny.
That's good. That's
that
good.
he wasn't laying bricks at St. John's 130 years earlier. So, yeah, he got it. He really got what this was all about. It was all about the kids. And I saw another on Facebook, a guy I know who works with marching bands all over the state and all over the country, a guy I know, talked about being up at St. John's in the summer when the Rosemount Marching Band, they always have band camp. They go for a week. I think they still may go to St. John's. And this guy happened to bump into John Gagliardi at lunch and ended up having lunch with him. And all John could talk about was this Rosemount Marching Band, how hard they worked. He said, my football team could learn a lot from this marching band. Look at the hours they're putting in preparation. And the Johnnies, practices there were like an hour and a half. He didn't mess around. He said, let's work on some plays. You defensive guys work with the defensive coaches, and then let's watch film. And if you want to lift weights, go ahead. It was a simple approach, but he always was complimentary of everybody he ran into, and just was a great guy. I wish I'd have known him better, but I knew him well enough to know how lucky I was to spend a little bit of time with him.
So I loved the fact that he believed that having people run into brick walls and it wasn't conducive to winning. I love that.
Yeah.
I also know that he was incredibly competitive, and I also know from talking to St. John's players, he didn't make you lift weights, but there was such internal competition for playing time. You better be lifting weights, and you better be working hard on your own if you're going to make it. He just didn't force you.
No, because he had 100 and some kids on the team. We were walking across campus up there one time, and a bunch of football players, not first stringers, lower level guys, were walking the other direction, and they're saying hi to John. Nobody called him Coach. He was John, and then we chatted a little bit. Then we went on to where we were going. And he looked at me and kind of a twinkle in his eye, and he says, I couldn't tell you the names of any of those football players, but do you know how much their moms and dads spend to send their kids here?
Yeah.
They can be on my football team.
No kidding. No kidding.
So, it's a remarkable career.
And he was also smart enough, and I'm amazed at how many people aren't smart enough to realize that if you just have nice conversations with people, if you just talk to reporters and talk to people, how quickly word spreads. I mean, his recruiting was, aided so greatly by the stories he allowed people to tell about it.
Exactly.
It's just ingenious. It's just simple but ingenious. Yeah. And then my experience was sitting in his office, anytime I asked a question, so John, something about how great you are, and he'd go, oh, that's a good question. Oh, you know what? I just happen to have that right up here. And whatever question I asked, he would pull out a typewritten, mimeographed stat sheet on St. John's being the greatest ever, and he'd give it to me. Well, thank you, John. It's nice that you coincidentally happen to have that right there.
He was prepared for everything.
He absolutely was.
Yeah, heck of a guy.
Thanks to Brandon Morton, our producer. If you're going to listen to the program or any programs across the platform, please download before you listen. It's better for us, and it's a better listening experience for you. And please do check out Bite Squad. You can also subscribe at iTunes, your favorite podcast app, or go straight to talknorth.com and find the shows there. So rest in peace, John Gagliardi. Thank you for bringing him up. Let's get to your favorite stadiums.
Yeah, I did this project over the last few weeks. I started compiling a list of my favorite football stadiums, high school football stadiums in Minnesota. Put a lot of time into this and a lot of thought. And what's posted on John's journal is it's not a list. I don't rank them 1 through 20. It's basically in categories. And I really pondered how to do this. And categories like best modern showplaces, small town charm, American history, atmosphere, those are 4 of the categories. And I've been from International Falls to Spring Grove down on the Iowa, where you can see Iowa from the football field. I've been to a lot of these. And it really was fun doing this. And I can't get them all. I'm never going to see them all. Already on Twitter, people are vouching for their stadium. And maybe I haven't seen it. I'm seeing a lot of ones mentioned that I've never been to, and that's my bad there. All I can do is rate the ones I've been to. I don't know how many I've been to. I've never tracked that. I suppose I could go through the list of football teams and try to remember if I've been there. But it was really, really fun to do because there's so many great places to watch football, from little towns where people can sit on their deck and watch the game next door to these big show places. I mentioned Farmington and Buffalo as great, first-rate, modern, first-class stadiums with great amenities and just a great place to watch football. the historical place is Sports Stadium in International Falls. That's what it's called, Sports Stadium.
Okay.
A WPA project. Last week I talked about going to Chet Anderson Stadium in Bemidji, another WPA project. They're both on there. So there's 20 of them, and at the end I'll give away right now, if you haven't read it, my two favorite stadiums, and they're very similar: Goodrich Field in Anoka and McNamara Field in Hastings. And it's basically, they are old and ancient. They have stone walls around them, and I wasn't disappointed to find out just in the last day or two that artificial turf is coming to the Hastings Field, because they need it. I mean, a lot of these, especially at the schools that have football and soccer and lacrosse and whatever else, the turf just gets killed, and all you can really do on it is play games. You can't use it for anything else. So the field in Hastings, which is one of my two favorites along with Anoka, is going to have turf next season, I understand. But go ahead and read that on John's Journal at mshsl.org. And I put a note at the bottom. I'd like to have people tell me about their favorite stadiums, maybe that aren't on my list. And if I get enough of those, I'll compile them and throw a post up on John's Journal with what other people think. But the reaction on Twitter and Facebook immediately, I just posted it a few hours before we're taping here, was really cool. A lot of people excited, a lot of people arguing for theirs. I saw some great overhead drone photos of fields. How come this one didn't make your list? And it's a good discussion to have. There's no downside here. And really, I really enjoyed doing this project. And people have asked, you going to do this for gymnasiums and ice arenas and baseball fields? That's a whole different deal, because a lot of those aren't that different, especially gyms and ice arenas. And baseball fields, I'll never get to enough of those to do something like this, because high school baseball is in the spring. It goes fast. And a lot of these great little ballparks, and especially in little towns, I'm not going to get to them in the spring. If I covered town team baseball, I'd have a shot at something like that. But this may be a football-only project, but I really had a good time doing it.
Excellent. Hey, let's thank Gourmet Parlor Pizza, gourmetparlorpizza.com. Work out of Royalton, but their stuff is showing up in Cub Foods and other grocery stores all across the state now. And, of course, what we've been pumping is the fact, if you're a high school fan, if you're a high school coach, if you're a high school administrator, you can do really cool fundraisers using Gourmet Parlor pizzas. Sure
can, Jim. Yeah, I've seen things from youth sports leagues and chess clubs and robotics teams doing this, getting a hold of the people up in Royalton at gourmetparlorpizza.com and selling pizzas as fundraisers. It's a great product. We all eat pizza. They've got, dozens and dozens of different options here, from pizza fries to something called s'mores pizza, which I'm intrigued by. You can get a value pack of 4 pizzas that people can purchase, and tons of thin crust, ready rice crust, just great stuff. And your group can make a profit of at least $3 to more than $5 a pizza. There's more than 30 items you can choose from. They'll deliver them for you in boxes, not in plastic bags. It's easy to handle. And as we've said before, Gourmet Parlor Pizza items are available at select Cub Foods, Coburn's, and Kowalski's, so you may see them in your favorite grocery store. But to get a hold of them, like we said, gourmetparlorpizza.com, or you can give them a jingle at 888-584-5930.
Elk River Rogers football.
Yeah, I had a really fun time last Friday night. Jim went to a football game in Elk River, and Rogers was the visiting team. They're in the same school district as is Zimmerman. 3 schools in that district, and I was reminding myself after the game, I was chatting with Mark Franz, the Rogers coach. Used to be Elk River was the only high school in that district. So 15 years ago, Rogers opened and Zimmerman opened, and the first game was between Rogers and Zimmerman, and Mark was the coach then. He had been an Elk River assistant. And I said to him, has that really been 15 years ago? Man, I am really getting old. But great memories. When you do this long enough, you remember things like that. And the biggest issue for me covering this game in Elk River was getting to Elk River from the south on a Friday afternoon. I live 55 miles south of Elk River.
It's a short flight.
Short flight. Yeah, I should have choppered in. But it took me 2 hours to get to the football field at the high school. Yeah, you get up to that Maple Grove, turn on 94, and you're just crawling. And then you get off at Rogers, and there's just so much traffic at 5:30 on a Friday. I knew that going in. I was still there well before game time. And the final score was 50-34. The Elks beat Rogers, and Elk River's got another great team. They're undefeated. They won the 5A state championship 2 years ago. They lost the 5A state championship game to Owatonna last year. And it looked like they were going to roll over Rogers. The score was 38-0 early in the second quarter, but here come the Rogers Royals, and they made it a game. 50-34 was the final. And if you ever want to see old school football, watch Elk River.